The flat summer light washed over the hives behind Clara and Tom Reyes's farmhouse, making the white boxes glow against the rising hills of Willamette Valley. The couple had spent the dawn extracting this season's first frames, thick combs scented with blackberry and clover, and just now, while Clara screwed copper-coloured lids onto a final run of hexagonal jars, Tom came striding up the porch steps, holding a cream-enveloped invitation. "Another wedding?" she asked, wiping propolis off her fingers. He shook his head, eyes bright. "Portland Museum of Art, annual Founders Gala. They want local small-batch producers for the silent auction gift baskets. $150 a seat, normally, but they're comping us 2 tickets if we donate 1 specialty jar." Clara whistled. From smoke-stained jeans to black tie in a single envelope. Tom grinned. "You always said our bees would open doors." Their business, Reyes Apiaries, was only 4 years old, but the honey was beginning to get press. Notes of wild fennel, hints of citrus from the neighbour's Meyer lemon greenhouse, and a finish some food writer had called lavender dusk. Still, they had never rubbed shoulders with art collectors. The prospect felt thrilling and slightly absurd, like sneaking into a costume ball in work boots. That weekend they poured a run of their most coveted reserve, golden, viscous honey kissed by the rare fireweed that bloomed high on Mount Hood after last year's burn. Tom fashioned a walnut crate lined with beeswax-polished straw. Clara tied a honey-coloured ribbon around the jar's neck and tucked in a small card, handwritten with the story of the colony that had made it. On the gala evening, they drove into Portland, trading sticky bee suits for formal wear. Clara's black dress shimmered faintly, reminiscent of her bee's iridescent wings, while Tom, who normally judged clothes by pocket quantity, looked wary but dignified in his rented tux. The museum gleamed under uplights, banners fluttering with the event theme. Guardians of Genius, protecting art for the next century. Inside, donors sipped champagne beneath marble columns. White-gloved staff circulated with canapes, and string musicians nestled between sculptures played Vivaldi with honeyed warmth. At a check-in table, a volunteer accepted the walnut crate and pasted a barcode sticker onto its base for the auction software. Then she scanned the jar itself with a small handheld reader, the way a grocer might pass a mango under a laser. Tom frowned. "Need to catalogue everything," the woman said apologetically. "Security protocols." The device emitted a soft beep, and the jar was whisked away toward a display area flanking a monstrous still life that anchored the silent auction. Clara and Tom drifted through galleries lit rosy for the occasion, listening to conversations about brushwork and provenance and post-war movements. They felt pleasantly like undercover pollinators ferrying a bit of orchard fragrance into a rarefied greenhouse. Near 9 o'clock, the museum director announced that guests could preview a just-restored Modigliani portrait in a side wing. The crowd migrated, leaving the main atrium briefly hushed. Clara, intrigued by a small sculpture of a bronze beekeeper, tugged Tom toward it. As they passed the auction table, Tom spotted their jar positioned on a mirrored riser like a jewel. "Look," he said, pride softening his voice. He reached to straighten the information card, but before his fingers touched the base, a piercing klaxon shattered the quiet. Red strobes flared overhead. Security gates in the floor shot up, sectioning off corridors. Guests gasped. Tom froze, hand inches from the jar. 2 guards sprinted over. One slapped a button, silencing the alarm, while the other seized Tom's arm. "Step back, sir." Clara's heart pounded. "We didn't do anything. That's our donation." A man with slicked hair and a headset approached, head of security, judging by his purposeful stride. The object triggered the outbound sensor, he said coolly. Static charges, RFID conflict. Could be anything. We'll examine it. But it literally came in 30 minutes ago, Clara protested. Why would it be trying to leave? That, the man said, lifting the honey jar with gloved hands, is exactly what we'll determine. He ordered an assistant to ferry the jar to a back hallway. Tom started to follow, indignant, but the guard blocked him. Guests stay in the public zones, sir. Clara held Tom's hand, feeling how tense his knuckles were. Let's not make a scene, she whispered. We need to find someone reasonable. The nearest someone reasonable turned out to be an associate curator named Lucy Brighton, a doctoral candidate with a swipe badge and a kind face. She had witnessed the episode and offered them water in a staff lounge to calm their nerves. The alarm you heard, Lucy explained, detects any protected RFID tag crossing perimeter lines. Our genuine masterworks have embedded chips. If one moves without authorization, sirens. But our honey doesn't have your chip, Tom said. Lucy agreed. Then something's very odd. She made a call, only to learn that the security team now claimed the jar's lid contained a chip identical to the one in the museum's Degas sketch, currently on display upstairs. How a chip worth more than the honey itself ended up in their donations stumped everyone. We sealed that jar at home, Clara insisted. Just the two of us. Where did you keep it after sealing? Lucy asked. In the farmhouse kitchen, locked cabinet, Tom said. We loaded it directly into the car tonight. Lucy chewed her lip. Could anyone have had access, en route or at your house? Maybe raccoons, Tom said wryly, but they don't counterfeit art. The trio exchanged worried glances. If security believed the couple had tried to steal from the museum, police could be involved. Clara pictured their bees uncared for, while lawyers tore through savings. She straightened. We need to prove we're being framed, and to do that, we need to see that jar. Lucy hesitated, then nodded as though making peace with a daredevil thought. Come with me. She led them through service corridors adorned with climate sensors and crates labelled with exhibition codes. Finally, they halted outside Conservation Lab 2, where through a glass partition the head of security, name tag reading Mason Fry, and another guard stood over their jar beneath surgical lights. Fry unscrewed the copper lid with tweezers. A plunk rang out, something metallic dropping into a stainless steel dish. He lifted it with forceps, an oval chip no larger than a lentil, the museum's emblem etched on its graphite casing. Clara inhaled. Tom muttered a beekeeper's curse. But Fry didn't stop there. He held the jar to a floor lamp, swirling its amber contents. Dark flecks, he told his colleague. Pigment, maybe? The other guard poked a penlight beam. Looks blue. Lucy leaned close to the glass. Ultramarine? In honey, Clara whispered. What's ultramarine? A historic pigment, Lucy said. True lapis lazuli ground to powder, worth thousands per ounce. Tom frowned. Why mix that in honey? None of them had an answer, but Clara's mind ran hive quick. Pigment, RFID chip, inside a jar switched at some point. Someone used our honey as a smuggling vessel. A Trojan hive, Tom said bitterly. Lucy pulled them away from the window before Fry looked up. He's tight with certain board members, she murmured. If he's involved, confronting him isn't safe. So what's the plan? Tom asked. Lucy tapped her badge lanyard nervously. We verify if the Degas on the second floor still has its chip. If not, odds are we're staring at a forgery upstairs and the real drawing went out hidden in your jar. Clara exhaled. They forged a masterpiece, stuck the genuine chip in our honey. Then when security scanned the jar at intake, it didn't set anything off because the inbound perimeter is dumb. The alarm triggered only when Tom tried to move it. And whoever swapped the jar expected to walk straight out after the gala, Lucy finished. Your jar would look like an ordinary auction donation being carried to a car. Tom rubbed his temples. Except I tried to tidy the placard. And saved a dagger by accident, Clara said, half laughing in disbelief. Let's save it properly, Lucy replied. She hustled them up a staff stairwell. The museum's lights dimmed for closing, while guests savoured a last pour of Pinot Noir below. Upstairs, the Impressionist gallery stood mostly empty under motion-sensitive track lamps. They approached the framed Degas pastel of a ballerina tying her shoe, a delicate swirl of graphite, chalk, and grace. Lucy withdrew a museum tablet, launched an internal inventory app, and pinged the ID assigned to the drawing. No response. She tried a second scanner wand kept in a wall safe. Still nothing. The chip is gone, she confirmed, which means this may not be the Degas. Tom peered at the sketch. Looks real enough. Good forgeries are supposed to. Clara's voice was thin with anger. How many others? Lucy said. We audit 6,000 pieces. If a ring's replacing originals with perfect copies, the stakes are enormous. A sound behind them, soft footfalls. They spun to see the gala's chief patron, Helena Montrose, approaching with chilly poise. Her silver gown caught the lights like fish scales. Lucy, Helena said, voice as smooth as marble polish. The gala is concluding downstairs. Why are we skulking up here with beekeepers? Lucy stammered. Clara recognized the calculation behind Helena's boutique-esque smile, someone used to running rooms and secrets alike. We were discussing the alarm, Miss Montrose, Clara offered, stepping forward. Our honey jar. Unfortunate glitch, Helena cut in. Mr. Fry is resolving it. Please rejoin the reception. Helena's eyes flicked to the Degas, lingered for a fraction too long. Tom saw it. So did Clara. Helena gestured to an exit. This way. Lucy swallowed. Of course. But as Helena turned, Clara caught Tom's gaze, silent hive language flowing between them. Tom scratched his wrist, an old signal they used during farmers' market browbeatings, meaning, move quickly. He stepped forward, blocking Helena's path. Before we leave, could you tell me your favourite part of this drawing? Helena blinked, thrown off. Pardon? Mine's the erasure lines in the left calf, Tom said cheerfully. Shows Degas re-angled the knee. You can see them best under a bleak light. Clara pivoted the track lamp held on a neighbouring Lautrec so it grazed the ballerina at a low angle. Fine ridges became visible, tiny topographical cues, but not where they should be. Lucy's voice cracked the silence. There are no correction grooves, not a single one. Helena's painted smile faltered. Lighting tricks can be deceiving, she murmured. From downstairs came the buzz of crowd dispersal. Time was a tightening net. Tom reached into his pocket, not for a weapon, but for his lucky queen-catching cage, a small clear clip with mesh sides he often fiddled with. He held it up, letting its reflective surface sway between them. Funny thing about bees, he said, tone conversational. They leave microscopic wax behind wherever they walk. A UV lamp shows it. Conservators call it an authentication disaster. So when Clara and I harvest honey, we handle frames with nitrile gloves. Helena watched the cage glint. He continued, I'd wager this drawing has no wax traces, because it never lived in an artist's dusty Paris studio. Brand new paper, Artificially aged. Should we test? Helena's gaze cooled to winter steel. You overestimate your importance, apiarist. She spun, heels stabbing carpet, and strode for the staircase. Clara lunged to intercept, but Helena was quick, disappearing down a side hall. A door snicked shut, locking. Lucy cursed under her breath. That corridor leads to the loading bay. The jar, Clara breathed. She'll try to get it out another way. They raced back the way they'd come, Lucy's badge granting shortcuts. In a basement passage, they almost collided with Fry, who wheeled a black rolling case. At his side, Helena, her calm mask back in place. 2 other guards flanked them. Lucy whispered to Clara, "That case could hold a small crate." "Our honey," Clara said, anger thrumming. Fry noticed the trio. "Museum's closed," he barked. "Please exit." Lucy drew herself up. "Mason, the Dagger chip was removed without authorization. Protocol 8A says we notify the registrar and lock down all outbound cargo until inventory review." Fry's temple vein pulsed. Helena smiled thinly. "Dear, do you outrank head security?" Lucy swallowed but held position. In matters of collections integrity, curatorial chain supersedes security directive, section 4.3. Clara recognized Lucy's bluff from farmers' market days, quote a regulation quickly and loudly, hope no one checks. Fry's hesitation was long enough. Tom stepped forward. "Open the case." Fry shook his head. "You have no authority." But at that moment, another figure arrived, the museum director himself, drawn by the raised voices. With guests gone, his demeanor shifted from glad-handing host to stern executive. "What happens here?" he demanded. Lucy spoke first, crisp. "Potential theft in progress. Removed RFID from Degas, replaced original with a forgery, attempting to smuggle genuine out hidden in our donated honey. We request immediate search." The director's gaze moved from Lucy to Fry to Helena. The patron's expression remained serene, but her fingers tightened on her clutch. "Miss Montrose?" the director asked softly. Helena lifted her chin. "I will not dignify this farce." "Then you'll allow inspection," Lucy pressed. Silence stretched. Finally, the director nodded to Fry. "Open it." Fry's jaw clenched. He keyed the lock. Inside lay the walnut crate, ribbon still immaculate. Next to it, rolled parchment in a pneumatic cylinder, likely additional loot. The director's face hardened. "Ms. Montrose, explain." Helena let the pause bloom poisonous. "Our endowment barely covers acquisitions," she said at last, voice brittle. "This city's cultural appetite outpaces its purse. I redistribute art that languishes unseen, sell to collectors who cherish it. The museum receives anonymous donations equal to or greater than insurance payouts. Everybody wins." "Everyone except the public," Clara said quietly. "And the artists whose legacies you counterfeit." Helena's eyes flicked to Clara, venomous. But the spell was broken. Guards who answered to the director closed in. Fry raised hands in surrender. As they were escorted away, Helena turned once more to Clara. "Enjoy your moment. Honey spoils." Clara met the glare. "Authentic things endure," she replied. Police processed evidence until dawn. The honey jar became a star witness. Chip, pigment flecks, fingerprints inside the swapped lid. Lapis ultramarine, investigators learned, masked micro-etchings used to track stolen pieces. The viscous honey protected the chips from scanners until it cooled. The ring had moved at least 5 artworks through similar gimmicks: wine bottles, perfume, artisanal jam. By 7 a.m., Clara and Tom sat in the museum cafe, utterly spent. Lucy arrived with 3 steaming coffees and a grin as radiant as sunrise. "Feds want to talk to you," she said, "but first the director insists you take this." She set a manila envelope on the table. Inside lay a letter of gratitude, lifetime membership cards to the museum, and a commission check for consultancy services, enough to expand the apiary twice over. Tom whistled low. Guess the bees found new forage. Lucy also placed the honey jar, now emptied, on the table. "For your collection." Clara cradled it. "All that trouble over one jar." "Over authenticity," Lucy corrected, "whether in art or honey." Later, when they finally drove home, dawn mist curled above the fields. Their hives waited, humming with ordinary miracles. Clara stepped from the truck, inhaled the perfume of wax and nectar, and felt the world settle true. Art might be forged, chips stolen, pigment hidden, but in each comb her bees built lay a pattern no thief could copy. Hexagon by hexagon, truth sealed itself in golden cells, and those who tried to fake it were bound, eventually, to be stung by its sweetness.